The black of space shimmered like glass as the alien fleet hung above Earth's orbit. Their vessels curved in silver, lined with cold blue energy. Thousands of ships surrounded the planet, each one a different shape. Disks, spines, organic masses pulsing with light. From the ground, cities looked up and saw the sky fractured with movement. Humanity was surrounded by the Galactic Council's armada. To most species, this would have meant surrender. To humans, it meant calculation. In the orbiting defense station Arc 9, Commander Rian watched the fleet's formation through the main viewport. His reflection glimmered faintly against the sea of ships. "They brought 5,000, he said. "We have 200, the young analyst beside him stammered. "Sir, their energy output," Ryan raised a hand. "I know, but look at their pattern. They're predictable. Every ship moves in formation. They're efficient, but they don't improvise." The alien voice came through the comms, cold and formal. "Humans of Earth, by order of the Galactic Council, lower your planetary shields and surrender. Your defiance will result in sterilization of your biosphere." Ryan's lips twitched. "They don't even understand what we're capable of." He turned to his officers. "Initiate the ghost net." Across the planet's orbit, small human vessels, barely visible on scanners, lit up for an instant, then vanished. The alien ships detected thousands of energy spikes, then none. Their systems tried to adapt, but the humans were already moving. Artificial debris fields, false signals, reflections. Earth's forces didn't fight openly. They fought like the planet that raised them, hidden, adaptive, unpredictable. In the Council flagship, an alien admiral hissed, "Primitive tricks." But then one of his vessels detonated without warning. A human drone had slipped through their defense grid. Then another ship vanished, its energy core imploding. The aliens realized too late. Earth had not been preparing for peace. It had been studying them. Inside the Arc 9 station, Ryan watched quietly as the alien formation began to retreat. "Send a message," he said. "We will attend the Council's judgment. And we will bring proof that we are not the threat they are." The feed cut to static as the alien fleet withdrew beyond the moon. For a moment, the stars returned to their usual calm, but everyone in the command center knew that this was only the beginning. When the lights dimmed in the station's lower decks, a young girl sat quietly by a viewport. She was no officer, no soldier, just a student wearing a Galactic Academy uniform. Her name was Lyra, and she was Earth's first accepted student at the alien school orbiting in the far spiral arm. Her eyes followed the fading ships, reflecting their cold light. 2 weeks later, Lyra stood in the Galactic Council's central hall, surrounded by alien representatives. They had invited humanity to explain its actions during the standoff. The hall itself was enormous, floating above a gas giant, its walls alive with shifting light and sound. Each representative sat in their floating pod, arranged in perfect order around the circular floor. In the center stood Earth's chosen speaker, Ambassador Hale, a calm man with iron-gray hair. Behind him stood Lyra, her student badge still pinned to her chest. "Humans," began the Council's chief arbiter, his body made of translucent scales that shimmered with power. "You stand accused of aggression, defiance, and deception. Your world's survival tactics are in violation of the peace accords." Hale inclined his head. "Aggression? You surrounded our planet with fleets. You threatened sterilization. We defended ourselves." Murmurs broke out among the delegates, echoing in 100 voices. Hale raised his hand and a hologram appeared, Earth glowing blue. Data spread across the projection. Atmospheric toxicity, gravity intensity, predator count, disease index. "Our home," he said, "kills us every day. It forged us. Every breath is a test, every birth a gamble. You call us violent because we survive what you cannot even imagine." Silence filled the chamber. Some delegates averted their eyes. Others stared with quiet unease. The arbiter's voice was thin. "That explains your cruelty, not your defiance." Hale smiled faintly. "No, it explains our strength," the delegates whispered again, but Lyra barely heard them. Her focus was on a group of alien students watching from the balcony above. They wore the Academy's crest, the same one she did. They whispered among themselves, pointing at her. She heard the words, "Deathworlder, experiment, savage." After the hearing, Lyra returned to the Academy. It was an immense structure orbiting a pale moon, filled with students from every known species, each one brilliant in science, diplomacy, or psionics. She walked the corridors quietly, her uniform plain compared to the others' ornate fabrics. Some moved out of her way. Others did not bother to hide their disgust. In the training dome, she stood at her assigned station as the instructor. A tall insectoid being with shimmering wings activated the holographic arena. Today, he said, you will simulate evacuation under atmospheric collapse. Remember, precision and restraint. The air shimmered and the dome filled with projections, collapsing buildings, falling debris, smoke. The alien students moved gracefully, each motion perfect, calculated. Lyra moved differently, fast, instinctive. When a structure collapsed near her, she didn't hesitate. She ran toward it, grabbed a trapped student, and hauled him out with bare hands. The simulation ended. Silence followed. The instructor's voice clicked. You ignored orders, used physical force, and destabilized the hologram. You endangered others. I saved him, she said simply. The alien she rescued looked at her with fear. You shouldn't have touched me, he whispered. The instructor turned to the control room. Security. 2 guards entered, tall reptilian creatures in black armor. Lyra of Earth, one said, you are under detention for endangering galactic citizens. Her voice was calm. Endangering? You mean surviving? The guards seized her arms. Students stared, whispering. The instructor turned away. Tyros, a small Velnari with translucent skin, took a step forward, his voice trembling. She didn't mean harm, one guard snapped. Silence. The lights flickered for a moment, just enough for Lyra's eyes to catch the reflection of her own expression in the glass wall. Calm, unafraid. As they dragged her toward the exit, she looked back at Tyros and said softly, Tell them not to follow. The door closed behind her, sealing with a metallic hiss. That night, rumors spread across the academy. Some said the human girl had been taken to the lower detention levels. Others whispered that she was being transferred back to Earth. But those who worked in the security division said nothing. They avoided the corridor she had been led through. By morning, the surveillance systems in that sector failed. When maintenance teams checked the feeds, they found static. Just one frame of light, blurred and faint, like something burning. The dean ordered the area sealed, calling it a containment breach. Ambassador Hale, upon hearing the report, looked out the viewport of his shuttle and whispered, You never should have touched her. On the Academy's outer hull, facing the dark of space, a message appeared for a brief moment, written in human script, Do not follow. Then the letters vanished, erased by the cold light of the stars. The dark side of Jupiter burned red as a new fleet emerged from hyperspace. Alien ships, each the size of a mountain, drifted into formation, an armada of the Vacor Dominion, their hulls etched with glowing runes. The message was clear. Earth's defiance at the Council had consequences. Humanity had survived the last encounter, but this time, the aliens had brought warships built for extermination. Inside Earth's command center orbiting Mars, Admiral Wren stood over a circular holographic display showing the enemy formation. Thousands of signatures shimmered on the board, dwarfing the tiny blue lights that represented Earth's defense fleet. Officers around him waited for orders, tension cutting the air thin. They're jamming long-range communications, said Lieutenant Merrick. They want isolation before the strike. Wren nodded. That's their mistake. They assume isolation weakens us. He looked up at the curved glass of the command deck, where Mars glowed below like a silent witness. They forgot what happens when a Deathworld fights alone. Within seconds, a coded signal pulsed from Earth's satellites. Across the solar system, hidden relays came alive. Asteroids shifted from their usual orbits, revealing engines buried deep in rock. Whole belts of stone became guided weapons. From Neptune's orbit to the asteroid colonies, humanity's response lit up like wildfire. The alien commander aboard the Dominion flagship watched the human counteraction with confusion. They're using debris as weapons? No, another voice answered, trembling. They're controlling gravity fields. They're reshaping their system. Moments later, a single asteroid the size of a cruiser struck one of the Dominion warships. It tore through the hull in silence, leaving a glowing wound. The alien commander shouted in disbelief as his tactical display flickered. How did they? Wren's voice echoed across secure frequencies. You came to our home thinking you'd face an army. You'll face the planet itself. The Vacor fleet fired back, massive beams slicing through space, but the asteroids moved faster. Artificial gravity distortions redirected each one. Guided by hundreds of human operators who had trained for years on simulators the Council never knew existed. The enemy fleet began to break apart, and then, just as fast as it began, the humans stopped. Every asteroid froze mid-flight. The alien fleet, broken and wounded, drifted among the wreckage. Admiral Wren spoke softly, his words calm, almost sorrowful. "We could have finished you. We didn't. Go home. Tell them Earth doesn't kneel." The Vacor fleet withdrew into the void, leaving only silence behind. Humanity had once again proven that it didn't rely on numbers or power. It relied on the mind, on the quiet ferocity of survival. Far away, at the Galactic Academy orbiting a blue moon, none of this victory mattered to the girl who was missing. The corridors of the Academy were unusually quiet. News had spread of the human student Lyra being taken away by security. Some said she had been expelled. Others whispered that she had been executed. The only one who didn't believe either story was Tyros, the small Velnari who had seen her being dragged away. That night he returned to the hallway where she had disappeared. The air smelled faintly metallic. The lights flickered above, casting long shadows across the floor. The security checkpoint was empty. The guards who had taken her, 3 of them, had not been seen since. Their comlinks were dead. Their quarters untouched. Tyros swallowed his fear and stepped closer. He found a patch of dark marks on the floor as if something had burned into the metal. The scent of ozone hung thick. He looked up at the security cameras. Static. "Lyra?" he whispered. Only the hum of the corridor answered. Deeper inside the Academy's sublevels, Lyra walked in silence. Her wrists were bound by energy cuffs glowing blue. 2 guards flanked her, their weapons aimed at her back, while a third led the way down the long corridor. The walls were lined with pipes that pulsed faintly, carrying power from the reactor above. "Dangerous creature," one of the guards muttered. "Should have sent her back to that Deathworld." Lyra's voice was quiet. "You think it's the planet that's dangerous?" The leading guard turned. "What did you say?" She lifted her eyes. "It's not the planet." The lights flickered once. The hum in the pipes grew louder, like a pulse. The guards raised their weapons. "Stop that!" one shouted. "I'm not doing anything," she said calmly. The power dimmed again. Then the corridor filled with light. It wasn't an explosion, more like a wave of white heat that rippled silently through the metal walls. The guards screamed, their weapons clattering to the floor. When the light faded, they were gone. Only the echo of their cries remained. Lyra stood still, breathing slowly, her cuffs now shattered and dark. She looked down the empty corridor. Her eyes reflected the faint glow still dancing across the metal floor. Somewhere above, alarms began to sound. Tyros, still in the upper levels, heard the sirens. He ran toward the noise. The elevator refused to open, so he climbed down a maintenance shaft, his small hands shaking. When he reached the sublevel door, he felt a strange heat pressing from the other side. He touched the panel, it was warm. When the door opened, a gust of hot air rushed out. The hallway was empty. The walls were blackened, the floor cracked. Tyros stepped inside, calling her name. "Lyra!" No response. Then a voice came through the intercom. One of the security officers in the control room. "All units, report. Sublevel 7 is offline. Repeat, sublevel offline. We're not getting any readings." Tyros hid behind a console. Through the cracked floor panels, faint orange light pulsed from below like a heartbeat. Ambassador Hale arrived an hour later. The Academy had gone into lockdown. He walked through the halls as alien officials avoided his gaze. The Dean met him near the sealed sector. "Your human has caused a crisis," the Dean said coldly. "Our systems are failing. Power fluctuations. Equipment melting." "What did you send us?" Hale looked past him toward the sealed corridor door, its surface warped like melted glass. "A student," he said. "You treated her like a weapon. Now you're seeing the difference," the Dean hissed. "She killed my guards," Hale shook his head. "She warned them not to touch her. Maintenance drones worked to cut through the sealed bulkhead, but the moment their drills made contact, the machinery overheated and died." The Dean ordered the entire section quarantined. Inside the control room, one of the technicians gasped. "Sir, there's a signal." "From where?" "From inside the sealed sector." The holographic display flickered to life. A faint message pulsed in human script, repeating over and over, "Do not touch me." The technician stared at the message in silence. The dean ordered it deleted, but the words reappeared every time he tried. Tiro sat quietly in the dormitory that night, staring out the window at the stars. The other students whispered about the incident. Some claimed the human girl had escaped. Others believed she had become something else, something the Academy didn't understand. When lights went out across the Academy that night, no one slept. In the dark silence, the lower corridors began to hum again, a low vibration that traveled through the walls. On the Academy's outer hull, a faint glow appeared, lines forming in a pattern visible only to those who looked long enough. It wasn't random. It was human script. Stay away. Then the light faded and the void swallowed it whole. Far away in Earth's command station, Admiral Wren received a coded transmission. It contained no words, only coordinates. He read them twice, then leaned back, eyes hard. The coordinates matched the Academy's orbit. He whispered to himself, "So she's still alive." Outside his window, Earth rotated quietly below, its blue glow cutting through the darkness like a silent warning. The dark void above Saturn rippled like water as a new armada descended from hyperspace. Alien warships, sleek, angular, and silent, formed a crescent around the gas giant, their weapons pointed toward the distant blue shimmer of Earth. They were not here for diplomacy. They were here to test whether humanity's defenses could stand against the most advanced fleet the galaxy had ever produced. Inside the Earth Defense Command on the lunar surface, General Kale leaned forward over the holographic display. "They're not sending a probe this time," he said quietly. "That's an execution fleet." The room fell silent. Around the table sat admirals and commanders from the orbital colonies and Mars bases. Everyone knew what that kind of fleet meant. The Alien Council had decided Earth was too dangerous to exist freely. "Activate the mirror satellites," Kyle ordered. A technician hesitated. "Sir, those haven't been tested." "The reflective arrays might do it," Kyle said. "They'll only get one chance to strike. Let's make sure it's their last." Moments later, thousands of small satellites across the solar system activated. Their surfaces unfolded like flowers, revealing massive mirrors designed to bend and redirect light and radiation. The alien fleet detected the movement but dismissed it as primitive clutter. Then, as the first enemy beam weapon fired, the mirrors flared. The beam split across dozens of reflective panels, bent through the void, and redirected right back toward the alien ships. The explosion rippled through their formation. Dozens of vessels vanished in silence, their hulls melting into liquid fire. Kale stood without speaking, eyes on the projection. "They'll learn that we don't need superior technology," he said. "We just need to use their arrogance against them." Across the fleet, the aliens tried to recalibrate, but their sensors were blind. The reflected radiation flooded their systems. A single human fleet of 50 ships charged forward through the chaos, firing kinetic rounds and rail slugs, tearing through their enemies' confusion. Within minutes, the aliens retreated, leaving debris burning in Saturn's shadow. Humanity had survived another assault, not with brute strength, but with precision and cleverness. But not everyone was celebrating. Far beyond Saturn, orbiting a pale moon in the Council's territory, the Galactic Academy was still in chaos. It had been 3 days since the human girl, Lyra, vanished with the 3 security guards. No one had found a trace of her or them. The sealed lower corridors were now off limits. Power fluctuations continued to roll through the station. Ambassador Hale arrived again, his face calm but his voice sharp. "You still haven't found her?" The dean, his scaled body trembling slightly, avoided eye contact. "She was taken by our security. They disappeared as well. We don't know what happened." "Have you reviewed the surveillance?" Hale asked. "Yes," said the dean, his tone uneasy. "But the recordings are corrupted." They stood in the control room as technicians replayed the footage. Static filled most of it, but one fragment remained, a figure of light shaped like a human standing in the middle of the corridor. The guard's armor glowed red before the image cut to black. "That light," one technician whispered. "It wasn't plasma. It was something else. Something alive." Hale's gaze remained fixed on the screen. "She told you not to touch her," he said softly. The dean's voice cracked. "What is she?" Hale didn't answer. Instead, he asked, "Where is her friend, the Velnari boy?" In the student dormitories, Tiro sat on the floor shaking. He had not slept since the alarms began. Every night he heard faint sounds from the sealed sector, metal creaking, soft vibrations in the walls, and sometimes a low humming that seemed to come from deep beneath the station. When the door slid open, Hale stepped inside. "You're Tyros?" The Velnari nodded quickly. "You're from Earth, you know her." "Yes," Hale said. "Tell me everything you saw." Tyros hesitated. "She didn't fight them. She didn't even speak. But when the lights went out, something happened. The air felt heavy like gravity changed. When the power came back, they were gone." "Gone how?" "Just gone," Tyros said. "No bodies, no burns, just heat in the walls." Hale looked at him closely. "You're not lying." Tyros shook his head. "No, I think she's still here. I can feel it. The station feels wrong. It's like she's part of it now." Outside, in the upper levels, the Council's investigators arrived. Their ships hung in orbit around the Academy, and armed units began to sweep the halls. They carried scanning devices that could detect human energy signatures, biological or otherwise. When one of the investigators entered the sealed corridor, the lights flickered again. The metal door opened by itself. The inside was black, scorched. The investigator's scanner buzzed erratically. "Reading unstable quantum energy," he reported. "Source localized ahead." He took one more step and the scanner shattered in his hand. The lights went out completely. The other investigators waited outside, calling his name. No answer came. When the backup lights flickered on, the man was gone. Only his helmet remained, fused into the floor. Back in the command deck, the Dean turned to Hale, fear in his eyes. "She's killing them." Hale didn't look away from the viewing window. "No," he said quietly. "She's warning them." The Council ordered a full lockdown. Ships surrounded the Academy, blocking all exits. Power to the outer decks was shut off, but even without light, the corridors glowed faintly as if the walls themselves remembered something. That night, the station's main systems rebooted on their own. The central holoscreen came alive, displaying an unknown signal. It wasn't alien code, it was human script looping endlessly. The words read, "Stop looking for me." The technicians panicked. The Dean tried to override the message, but every command failed. Hale stepped forward and placed his hand on the console. "She's trying to protect you," he said. "She's losing control of what's happening to her." "Protect?" The Dean snapped. "You call this protection? She destroyed 3 decks." "Your guards hurt her," Hale replied. "You treated her like an animal. What did you expect? Earth doesn't send weaklings into your schools. It sends survivors." Meanwhile, in the lower sections, Tyros couldn't sleep. He dreamed of light moving through the walls, of Lyra's voice calling softly from somewhere deep within the station. He woke in the middle of the night to find a faint glow outside his door. He followed it through the corridor until he reached the observation deck. There, on the glass overlooking the stars, faint words burned like fire. "I didn't mean to," Tyros whispered into the empty air. "Lyra?" The glow pulsed once as if answering. Then it vanished. When morning came, the Council's special envoy arrived, a towering being of silver armor and hollow eyes. "This facility is under Council control," it announced. "All human influence will be removed. Ambassador Hale, you will leave immediately." Hale stood firm. "If you touch her again, you'll regret it." "She is no longer your concern," the envoy replied. "Whatever remains of her will be neutralized." Hale turned toward the viewport. In the distance, the orbiting patrol ships began to move. They were preparing for containment. But something unexpected happened first. The Academy's power grid surged brighter than ever before. The orbiting ships detected an energy wave rising from the station's core, stronger than any reactor signature on record. Inside, every light turned white. Alarms wailed, but no one could move. The floor vibrated, the air thickened, and then a human voice echoed through every speaker in the facility. "Stop. You're hurting them." The ships outside fired containment beams toward the station. The light expanded again, brighter than stars, and when it faded, the ship's systems went dead. The Academy floated quietly in orbit, untouched but eerily silent. The envoy's vessel drifted aimlessly. Hale looked at the glow fading across the hull and whispered, "She's awake." Tyros stared at the same light from his window. The words forming on the metal skin of the station were clear this time. "Do not make me defend myself." The silence that followed was colder than the void itself. The first thing the galactic observers saw was Earth surrounded by what looked like a wall of light. Thousands of orbiting satellites glowed in perfect formation, pulsing in sequence like a heartbeat. Beyond them, 3 alien dreadnoughts loomed, their cannons primed to strike. But instead of panic, Earth's skies stayed calm. The human fleet was silent, waiting. Then a coded pulse rippled across the satellites, and within seconds, every alien targeting system went dark. The alien ships floated blind and powerless, unable to comprehend how the primitives from a so-called Deathworld had hijacked advanced systems in less than 5 seconds. The alien commander tried to bark orders, but before he could finish his sentence, the human fleet appeared from the dark side of the moon. 30 ships, each small and compact, their hulls black like obsidian. They didn't need size. They had precision. From the Galactic Council chamber's distant view feed, ambassadors stared in disbelief. What was supposed to be a simple intimidation maneuver by the Valari fleet had turned into a silent humiliation. Every alien envoy knew the humans were unpredictable, but this was surgical. Earth had not fired a single shot, yet the fleet had surrendered. The chamber fell quiet, and in the silence, an ancient fear returned to the galaxy. The realization that humanity never needed permission to defend itself. Far from the orbiting spectacle, deep in the Galactic Academy, a human student named Lena sat in an empty corridor staring at her hands. They were trembling, not from fear, but from what she had done. The guards who had dragged her away 2 days ago were gone. No one talked about them. The surveillance footage was erased. The school's AI claimed no memory of their existence. But everyone knew something terrible had happened. She could feel it in the way the halls grew silent when she passed, the way alien eyes avoided hers. Lena had not meant to cause what followed. She had only wanted them to stop. They had mocked Earth, called her species parasites, filth from a gravity well unfit for galactic life. The guard had shoved her, laughing as he called her Deathworld spawn. And then, she didn't remember what happened next. She only remembered the flash of white light and the scream that never ended. When she woke up, she was alone, and the corridor smelled like ozone and burned stone. Since then, no one had seen those guards. No one had dared to ask her what she'd done. That morning, the Academy's administrators summoned her to the central chamber. It was a glass room floating above the main spire, surrounded by clouds and light from the twin suns. Inside were the heads of every alien department, tall beings of shimmering feathers, scaled skin, and translucent forms that shifted with color. The air hummed with tension as Lena stepped forward. "Human," said the dean, a long, thin creature with silver eyes that flickered like static. "You are charged with the disappearance of 3 security officers. Explain yourself." Lena met his gaze. Her voice was quiet, almost calm. "I didn't kill them." The dean's tone sharpened. "Yet they are gone, vaporized, only their armor remains. And you were the last to see them." She shook her head. "I didn't mean for anything to happen. They pushed me. I just reacted." One of the alien instructors leaned forward. "Reacted? You think reaction justifies annihilation?" Lena's jaw tightened. "I didn't mean to annihilate anyone." Silence filled the chamber. The dean's eyes narrowed. "Then what did you do?" Lena hesitated. She didn't know how to describe it. It was like the air had thickened, like the atoms around her had obeyed her fear, her anger. It had been instinct, pure and terrifying. "I think," she whispered, "I told the universe to stop." The room grew cold. One of the instructors shifted uncomfortably. "Impossible," he muttered, but the dean wasn't convinced. "Human," he said softly. "Your species manipulates physical forces through machines, not thought. What you claim violates the laws of the galaxy." Lena looked down. "Maybe your laws don't apply to us." The dean slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Enough!" he barked. "You will remain under observation until we determine what you are." Guards moved toward her again. For a moment, she felt the same panic rising inside her, but she closed her eyes, trying to suppress it. The floor vibrated anyway. The air shimmered. One of the guards stumbled back, his weapon melting in his hands. The dean froze. "Don't move," he hissed. The energy around Lena pulsed once like a heartbeat. The glass walls vibrated, hairline cracks forming across the surface. Outside, clouds darkened and lightning flickered between them. She opened her eyes, glowing faintly blue. "I don't want to hurt anyone," she said softly. "Please stop trying to hurt me." Then everything went white. When the light faded, the entire upper chamber was gone. The spire's top had been sheared clean off, floating fragments of glass and metal drifting through the air like snow. Alarms blared throughout the academy. Hundreds of alien students ran into the courtyards. staring up at the destruction. Where the council had stood, only Lena remained, hovering her feet inches above the fractured floor. From the orbiting station above the planet, the Galactic Patrol received the distress call. They scanned for life signs and found none in the upper spire. Only one signal pulsed: human DNA. Within minutes, 10 patrol ships descended through the atmosphere, forming a containment circle around the academy. Their commanders ordered all students to evacuate. The last image transmitted before communication was lost showed Lena raising her hand, a storm of light gathering above her. The Galactic Council met within the hour. Panic spread across the core worlds. The human delegation was called in, but Earth's ambassador only watched in silence. When asked to explain, he simply said, "She's a child." "You provoked her." The council roared in disbelief. "A child cannot do this. What kind of monsters are you breeding on that planet?" The ambassador's expression never changed. "We didn't breed her," he said quietly. "We just taught her how to survive." Back on the planet, the patrol fleet opened fire. Beams of energy streaked toward the academy ruins. But the shots never reached her. They bent, twisted midair, and turned back. In one flash, the ships vanished, no explosion, no debris, just silence. For the first time in the galaxy's history, a single human stood against an armada, and the armada disappeared. In the darkness that followed, Lena collapsed unconscious, the air around her still humming with unseen energy. Somewhere far away, Earth's defense satellites blinked once, as if acknowledging her heartbeat across the void. And in the Galactic Council chamber, every species that had once mocked humanity sat in silence, realizing that the smallest student from the most dangerous world might be something the galaxy was never prepared to face. The human fleet stood silent in orbit, hundreds of ships drifting against the black sea of stars. Earth glowed below, peaceful yet surrounded by an aura of tension that stretched across every transmission line in the system. The alien council fleet had vanished hours ago. No wreckage, no signal, no return. But the galaxy had seen it happen. Entire systems were now whispering the same impossible story. A single human had faced the might of the council and made it disappear. Now, the galaxy waited to see what Earth would do next. In the command deck of the Terran ship Resolute, Admiral Gray stood before a holographic display showing hundreds of incoming transmissions. Every channel burned with demands, warnings, or fear. Entire civilizations wanted answers. He turned to his officers and said quietly, "Patch in the open frequency." The communication officer hesitated. "Sir, that's the council net. Every major empire is listening." "Good," Gray said. "Let them." He stepped into the center of the bridge as the camera activated. His voice echoed through every channel across known space. "This is Admiral Gray of the Terran Fleet. To the Galactic Council and all its members, Earth has no desire for war. But we will not kneel. You sent your armada to destroy us. You lost it. Let that be your lesson. If you want peace, we'll offer it. If you want extinction, try again." The transmission ended. Silence followed. For a moment, it seemed the entire galaxy held its breath. But in the outer sectors, not everyone accepted the message. Beyond the core worlds, in a dark system forgotten by most star charts, a council war faction gathered. They called themselves the Orin Compact, the enforcers of galactic order. Their leader, a crystalline being named Ureth, slammed his hand against the table. "Do you understand what this means? A human erased the flagship. If we do not respond, the council will look weak. Every lesser species will rise," an advisor spoke cautiously. "The girl is untraceable. No sensor found her body. No readings remain. Then we find Earth itself," Ureth snapped, "and we burn it." The order went out. 3 days later, deep space scanners around the solar system detected another disturbance. This time there was no single ship. There were thousands. The largest invasion fleet in galactic history emerged from the void, ships of every kind, linked by one goal: to end humanity before it could rise further. The warning reached Earth at dawn. On the planet's surface, cities powered down to reduce targeting signatures. The sky filled with faint streaks of light as defense satellites aligned. In the orbital command, alarms blared as fleet captains reported in one by one. Admiral Gray stood at the center of the chaos. "Status," he demanded. "All fleets in position, sir. Planetary barrier stable. But we're outnumbered 50 to 1. Gray stared at the incoming swarm. Then let's make those numbers useless. He activated the mirror wall again, the system that had once bent the enemy's energy into light. But this time he changed its configuration. The satellites began to rotate, forming a pattern, one that matched Earth's magnetic field. The humans had discovered something new, a way to merge planetary physics with energy manipulation. When the alien fleet fired, thousands of beams converged on Earth, bright enough to outshine the sun. The mirror wall caught the attack and reflected it. The energy rebounded outward, striking the invaders' own ships. Entire lines of cruisers disintegrated in seconds, their weapons turning against them. But the compact's ships kept coming. They had learned. Some fired in waves, some in bursts, testing the limits of the human defense. The strain built quickly. Alarms screamed as the mirror wall overloaded. "Sir, the satellites are melting," shouted the engineer. "We can't hold them off much longer." Gray clenched his jaw. "We only need to hold long enough." Long enough for what? He looked toward the sky. For her. At that moment, the stars flickered. One by one, the alien ships began to lose power. Their lights dimmed. Their reactors went silent. The space between the fleets shimmered as something or someone appeared. Lena. She drifted above the planet like a living star, her eyes glowing faintly. Every sensor in the fleet registered her as a gravity anomaly, a living singularity. The energy in her presence bent light itself. The alien Admiral Ureth appeared on the communication feed. His voice thundered. "You cannot frighten us with tricks. You are one creature, nothing more." Lena looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You should have stayed away." Ureth raised his arm. The alien fleet fired again, all of them, thousands of beams converging into one blinding storm. But the moment the light touched her, it vanished. She lifted her hand and the energy condensed into a single point smaller than a spark. "Return to the void," she whispered. The point expanded silently. No sound, no heat, just light. The alien fleet vanished. Every ship, every drone, every signal. The space they had occupied became calm once more, empty and quiet. On the Resolute, no one could speak. The instruments went wild, unable to measure what had happened. Then the reading stabilized and there she was, Lena, descending slowly toward Earth. Gray gave the order. "Prepare for retrieval, and show respect. She saved us all." As the shuttle descended to meet her, Lena landed gently on the edge of the atmosphere, hovering above the curve of the planet. Her body was weak, her mind distant, but she smiled faintly at the sight of her home. When the shuttle reached her, the pilot whispered, "We've got you." She shook her head. "You don't need to, just remember who we are." Her body began to glow again, not with power this time, but with release. The light around her spread into the atmosphere, connecting with the mirror wall satellites. Instead of fading, she became part of the network, her consciousness merging with Earth's defense grid. The lights across the planet flickered once, then steadied. Every human communication system received a final message from her voice. "Don't be afraid of the stars anymore." And then she was gone. Years passed. The galaxy changed. The council fractured. Worlds that had once feared humanity now sent envoys seeking peace, trade, and knowledge. The phrase Deathworlders became a warning and a legend. In the galactic archives, a new entry appeared, an unverified record of a human student who defied extinction. Her name was spoken quietly with reverence and fear. Lena of Earth, the girl who commanded light. On Earth, the people lived under the protection of a silent network of glowing satellites that never powered down. At night, their soft hum could be heard faintly in the upper atmosphere, like a heartbeat. Admiral Gray retired years later, but sometimes he looked up at the night sky and saw a flicker, a faint shimmer above the clouds. Every time it appeared, he smiled. "She's still watching," he'd whisper. And far beyond the solar system, among the cold ruins of forgotten ships, something stirred. A soft echo, a ripple of light that whispered through the void. It carried a single human phrase, repeated in every language across the stars. "She warned you once." And the galaxy remembered what happened the day the Deathworld girl disappeared, and no one ever dared to challenge her world again.